And now we move on to probably what is my favorite question today. And that is because this is something that you see a lot as coaching, especially in gymnastics. I'm not sure if it's the same in parkour. But you can't make somebody do something that you know they are ready to do that they don't want to do, right? And so it's a proverbial, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So you've got a student who is physically ready to do a skill. Like you watch them do it or you spot them doing it, and you're like, yeah, you can do it. Let's go. And so they're ready to do it. You've gone through all the right progressions to be successful, but still they find themselves not being mentally ready to commit to it. And so, like I said, every time, your body is going to be ready before your mind is ready. And so what do you do then? And I know that this has a lot of coaches cry, maybe it may be possible, rip your own hair out, right? But this is important for us to go over because this is really a block for a lot of coaches, and they just get mad and start screaming at people. And if you're just screaming at people or whatever, you don't have a lot of tools in your toolkit to have the kid progress. And so this is important. And so mentally, they are not ready. Physically, they are ready. How do you get over that hurdle?
Flying drop kick.
Threat of violence.
I'd be as patient as possible with them. A lot of people like to take, like you said, the brute force approach, the screaming, well, why can't you do this? Just do it. You can do it. I tried to be as patient as possible, and sometimes it comes back to bite me a little bit. Sometimes it takes too long. Sometimes they get too comfortable with me helping them.
Honestly, I would say I take this personally at a case-by-case basis. It really comes down to learning your kids and learning their personalities. Not every kid's going to have the same personality, and thus they're not always going to respond to the same type of treatment, let's call it, to instill this confidence. Sometimes, like what Kagan mentioned earlier, he said, I told him, just do it. Stop being a weenie and go for it. And with him and his personality, I felt like the tough love approach would be a little bit stronger for him than praise and confidence over his insecurities. On the flip side, however, some kids really need that buildup of encouragement. And I think the trick to that is encourage everything that's positive, but never encourage when there are no gains. Don't give encouragement, don't give praise for nothing, but give legitimate, genuine praise when there is some level of progress. And I'm not saying that works every time. Like I said, case by case basis, but for the most part, I found that I find success with those methods.
Yeah, and I know, basically what you're talking about is the same thing that I said earlier. It's like, not everybody's the same. You've got to have, and I tell my coaches a lot, it's like you've got to have a bunch of tools in your toolbox to be able to deal with each and every different type of child. And, you've got some kids that are a little bit more skittish. You have some kids are like rock and roll. Let's just chuck my body through the air. And you've got to know who is who. And you've got to kind of develop, a certain amount of like psychological profile on your children, kind of to, so kind of what works. But it's like if you show up with the toolbox and the only thing in it's a machete, it's like you're probably not going to be super versatile in the way that you can handle situations. And so my approach is really a two-pronged approach. The first one is I feel the need, and now round off back handspring is really kind of the principal one that I use this with. But you've got to develop some sort of routine, right? And so the thing that I always tell the girls, because everybody's scared to do a round off back handspring, most people are scared to do it. And so you tell them, okay, this is what I want you to do. You cannot focus on the fear. If you focus on the fear, it'll just eat you up. And so you've got to build the confidence that you need. You've got to develop a routine. And so I tell them, number one, I want you to take a deep breath. Just cleanse it, because you can get really angsty and jittery inside. And it's like, cleanse, take a deep breath, tell yourself something affirming, whether it be, normally I say, I can do it, I'm the greatest gymnast of all time, whatever you got to tell yourself, like to build yourself up to where you just got to have 2 seconds of insane courage. And if you can do that, then you're gonna get through it, right? And then I have them swing their arms and go for it. But I find that if you can get them in a routine where it doesn't matter where they are, whether it be the trampoline, whether it be the floor, whatever you're trying to progress, that you can move past it, because their mindset is, hey, I do this routine and then I do my round off back handspring and then I do my round off back handspring, and it becomes almost robotic. You've got to take the emotions out of it or you're not going to be very successful. And the other thing very quickly is that I also do mental training with them, and I try to train for levels ahead of where I'm at right now, because it's like, hey, you're going to be on team. Somebody is, going to be judging you. And so, it's not just enough to do this round off back handspring with your legs like this, and your crazy form. It's not enough just to not die. Somebody's actually going to be, scoring this routine, and you want to get a good score. And so now, I'm always doing mental training, trying to talk to them about it's like, you got to have courage. At some point, I've done all I can do for you, because at some point you've got to do a round off back handspring. And if I'm there, sometimes it hinders it, but you got to make yourself mentally ready for that moment, because if you're not, the rubber meets the road and you're not ready. And so those are things that have worked for me.